Ryan Heavyhand had been helping First Nations bring home ceremonial objects from museums for years, but this call from an institution in Oregon was a first. The museum had a beaver bundle, said Heavyhand, referring to one of the Blackfoot people's most sacred and ceremonially important objects. Many institutions were reluctant for such items to leave their collections, but not this one. This museum actually phoned the tribe and said, "Can somebody come and pick this up? Our staff are hearing animal sounds in the storage where the bundle was kept. They'd just like you to come and take it and bring it back home." Read more, promoting Blackfoot identity at International Peace Powwow. First Nations have been repatriating items for decades now. Masks, rattles, bundles, medicine pipes, bent wood boxes and headdresses in the hundreds have left urban museum cases and collection storehouses for the lands where they were made. And, when they arrive, they no longer sit behind glass. Many have resumed their place at the heart of Indigenous cultural life. They have become spiritual and artistic inspirations to the descendants of those who made them. "It definitely gave life to a lot of people," said Jerry Potts Jr., a Piikani elder from southern Alberta, who was involved in many repatriations of Blackfoot ceremonial items. "There's universities and collections all over that have given stuff back to the communities that's back in full use right now." Watch. A conference was organized by the Royal BC Museum and the First Peoples Cultural Council about returning Indigenous artifacts and sacred objects to their rightful owners. The FPCC's Tracy Herbert. The movement home began in the 1970s, driven by the desire of young Indigenous people to revive their ceremonies and traditions before the elders who knew them died. Many of those ceremonies had one-of-a-kind objects at their heart, and many, if not most, were in museums, universities and private collections. "Getting them back was hard work," said Heavyhand. In 1994, he sat down with a fat directory of museums worldwide and sent out 4,000 form letters asking them if they had any Blackfoot material. Almost 200 museums wrote back saying they did. "There were many, many thousands of items," he said. "All of the major museums in Canada have really big Blackfoot collections." Read more. Siksika, Piikani First Nations upset by Stoney Nakoda application to rename Calgary and other Alberta locations. On the West Coast, Andy Wilson, co-founder of the Skydgate and Haida repatriation committees, was getting summer students to look through museum catalogs and write letters. "They had to be proactive about it," he said. "Now, museums are starting to contact First Nations. Sometimes negotiations took months, sometimes they took years." Watch. The provincial government and the Alberta Tribal Council have signed a historic agreement on education. As Tom Vernon reports, the deal aims to boost graduation rates. Museums were reluctant to part with some artifacts or were uncertain about where they should go. First Nations had to work out who was entitled to receive the material and how the transfer should be done.